Welcome to this Times Techies webinar. I'm Sujit John, and I have with me my colleague Shilpa Fadnis. The two of us will moderate the discussion. We hope you and your families are staying safe and doing well. Our discussion today is on, does your network have a sixth sense? And we are holding it in association with Shro Systems and Aruba, an HP enterprise company. Today, sensors and edge devices are capturing more and more data. As this happens, networks too are shifting to the edge. And as the number of edge devices explode, networks are rapidly expanding. But the processes of handling these networks are still mostly manual and siloed. There's also astronomical amounts of data that these networks have to handle. The best IT teams are struggling to keep up. How can networks handle all this data in a way that we can derive insights from them efficiently and quickly? To discuss this, we have two seasoned professionals. We have with us Anirudh Shrotriya. Anirudh is a managing director of Shro Systems. We had Anirudh on this platform in April last year when we discussed VDI, virtual desktop infrastructure, and again in October when we discussed everything as a service. Shro Systems is a certified HPE Platinum partner. It helps companies with their digital transformation journeys. Anirudh has served as a president of the HPE Asia Pacific and Japan Advisory Board and as council member of the Worldwide HP Advisory Board. He's a keen golfer, an Everest base camper, and certified scuba diver. Welcome, Anirudh.
Thank you.
We have Mahesh Kumar Menon. Mahesh is manager for system engineering at Aruba. He has been with the company over 20 years of experience in customer-facing technical roles across enterprise, telecom verticals in India and abroad. He has been with Aruba for almost 4 years now. Prior to that, he was with Radisys Corporation, and before that, with the data center networking business of HP Enterprise. Mahesh is an open standard networking evangelist and a blockchain follower. Welcome, Mahesh.
Thank you.
Those of you doing this can send in questions through the Facebook comment box. Sujit and I will put them to Anirudh and Mahesh. The two of them will first make a presentation and then we'll get into the discussion. Without much ado, over to you, Anirudh.
Thank you so much, Shilpa. I'll just share my screen.
Sure.
Is it visible now?
Yeah.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Anirudh Shrotriya. I'm the managing director at Shro Systems. Thanks for the introduction, Sujit, and always a pleasure to be back at Times Techies. I, in fact, have said this before. I love being called a techie. I'm a techie myself. In my engineering days, this is what we used to do, and we used to always manifest that this one day we will have a techie club. And glad to be in a platform which discusses technology and the future trends. Shro Systems, my company, is 33 years old, and it does sound pretty dinosaur, like a dinosaur company, old age, but we are startup mindset at heart. We operate like a startup and would like to kind of adopt innovation and technology to better customer and human lives. When you look at I just spent some time in our technology portfolio, but when you look at our portfolio, we are kind of looking into multiple aspects. But here on this forum today, I'm discussing what we do as a service portfolio. So everything that you see on the screen today, we offer as a service. We believe that there is a lot of room to be as a skin in the game with the customer. We are in the game with the customer to drive his business and drive better business outcomes for him, whether it's networking that we're discussing today, or whether it's smart servers or storage in the data center, or laptops and desktops and printing on the end use side of the customer base. We are actually offering all of that as a service, which means that we are committing our SLA, we are committing our commitment on services, but more importantly, aligning infrastructure towards business, not the other way around. So if you see businesses today, they are very digital, they are agile, they need a lot of infrastructure on the fly, and they also need to scale up and down. You see COVID happening and people had scaled down their infrastructure in some cases, in some industries. So we need to obviously look at technology as an elastic offering, which can go up and down as their business demands go. A network, for example, has to be very agile, but also has to be scalable and secure as and when the customer demands, or as and when the business demands. Similarly, exactly the term of NAS came in, network as a service. And in fact, everything as a service is offered across the technology spectrum today. But network as a service with Shro Aruba partnership is a very peculiar and very, very interesting offering, because in the past, network has not been offered as a service. But today, we believe that network has a lot of components in a customer environment which needs a lot of attention. And we saw that in the pandemic, that how important network was, how important is to get your network right. Because if your remote workers are not connected to your head office or to your applications or to your customers, internal customers, you are not going to deliver outcomes. And hence, as a service basically is a model which avoids network slowdowns, avoids outages, is a very, very high level of solutioning, which ensures that the customer requirements are met. We think 3 steps ahead. And very importantly, we are now adding the element of sixth sense, which means that we are preempting what failures can happen. We are preempting what level of network changes are required, or what are the next upgrades required, so as to be able to scale with the business. Because businesses are absolutely dynamic right now, and they're demanding a lot from people, as I'm sure, but also demanding a lot from the infrastructure. How can we align that network infrastructure towards the business? And believe me, everything is happening at the edge. So the edge is what we call where the actual action is happening. The data center is obviously there, but a lot of compute and a lot of decision making is happening spontaneously at the edge, where the IoT networks are, where the actual critical decision makings. If you take a factory, for example, a lot of decision making is happening on the shop floor, and we want to move the compute, we want to move the resources closer to that where the action is happening, and the edge is doing that. And what better way to align that than a NAS or a network as a service, which is absolutely integrated in the entire story of a customer experience. Our advantages are certifications, and we believe that this is the advantage that customers see, because if years of experience of projects implementation that we've had has helped us look at different vertical sets of customers, align our strengths, align our experience to their advantage. I believe that it's super important that the 33 years that I mentioned earlier actually speaks volumes of our experience, but also tells us that our project experience of various different industries have helped us in good stead. I'll spend maybe one slide on this topic of our strength and experience, but very important is whether it's wireless, whether it's security or data center networking, for example, you look at very, very strong customer requirements in these areas. If it's a high density office environment, or if you're looking at a warehouse of a manufacturing customer, which is piling up lots of cars in their warehouses, how do you manage such huge spaces, or how do you manage so much complexities? You need a network which can cover a lot of aspects, also can be secure, but also importantly, also can deliver your commerce on top of that network. For example, I just talked about COVID-19 solutions. When the factories open back again, or when offices start back again, there is a lot of demand of how you will manage contact tracing, for example, or what are the features that you can create experiences for customers and employees both on top of a network. So the network is not just anymore a cable that is connecting to devices, or it's not just a wireless simple network. It's an actual entire infrastructure which is going to power, and it's the next commerce for any business. And it's important that we get the building blocks right. Our strength in Shro has been that we are able to demonstrate that whether it's an SD-WAN setup, or whether it's a BYOD or a mobile device management, or whether it's simply just having an entire management of a network at the tip of your fingers on one screen, where you can control the entire network, know what is down, where is the network really having a problem, what analytics information can be given to a decision maker. I think all of that is kind of comprehensively delivered to customers, and you can look at each and every building block as an importance from a customer success perspective. So because his businesses are now demanding that he has to be very, very agile, and the networks are now delivering that experience. It is not the other way around now. I'll just spend 1 minute on this case study. It's very important because when COVID-19 struck, I think a lot of customers went into a dizzy. A lot of customers really rose up to the challenge. Some customers faced a lot of challenges, but that's where we come in. This is a case study of a big IT research and development house based in Pune. It's a global collaboration solution provider, but they had a lot of R&D and a lot of critical research people who are doing critical projects. Suddenly without any notice, people had to now move into their houses, but also operate in this very secure, very critical, and very confidential environment. How do you achieve that? Our challenges that was thrown to us was that the public network is untrusted. They wanted to extend the same policies to the home in a very secured way. And the customer was struggling on the fact that how can you make it so secure and so compliant that an R&D environment can be run from a house of a representative or employee. It is unheard of, right? We never thought of research and development, critical people sitting in the house and working. But that became a reality because of Aruba, and we had a solution that we implemented with RAP. But very importantly, also design a solution which extended the same policies of their office environment of the HO into every single employee's homes in that project. It was easy to plug and play. It had the sixth sense where we could predict. But imagine if one of the persons sitting in the house has a connectivity loss, he loses the entire day. The productivity is lost. More importantly, data. The security of data becomes important. How do we secure that? How do we create an encrypted, secured tunnel traffic from the HO to the employees' homes? And I think it is possible, and that's the exact conversation we had with the customer. That with a virtual mobility wireless controller, we had Aruba remote access points with the RAP feature, and we had Aruba Airwave as a software management tool. But with this very simple solution, we were able to give them business continuity. But more importantly, also give them a certain sense of what the network is, how the network is going to behave. They had a very high level of reliability that they could operate their R&D operations from their employees' homes, which is in a very, very great achievement. And the entire crux of this entire situation was that the customer now is very, very happy, very, very connected on the solution. And even though the employees have come back to offices, this becomes a very permanent solution in a hybrid environment. This gets me to the reimagined workplace. I believe this is a journey that every customer is taking based on information from industry experts I spoke to and from various different sources and customers that I meet. Everybody has reimagined their workplace in various different phases. One is, for example, the phase one, which is the secure work remote place, right? For example, we characterized that we wanted business continuity. And when COVID struck, there was a lot of requirement on that continuity to happen. Most organizations have gone through this phase, have been able to implement their technology solutions very well. Like I gave you the example, but that became the phase one. I think all of the customers went through that phase in different stages, but were able to achieve that. That business continuity was important. And I think a lot of people achieved that in the first phase itself. So sorry, I moved. Okay. The phase two is the next natural step as employees start returning to offices. Their health and their safety become paramount. And how do we achieve that for customers? A lot of customers had this requirement that they need to be able to get a secure environment. How can a network enable that phase? For example, that is the conversation we had with customers, but it is possible, right? Because with Aruba and with our solutions, we're able to create an environment where you can predict, as I said, let's say contact tracing. We can also predict with a lot of applications which ride on it, where employee experiences a new person, for example, joining into an office is guided through a GPS system, which is based on beacon technology, where the employee is guided to his desk, is guided to his cabin. His onboarding can be as seamless and as seamless as possible, where he is not required to be interacting with anybody. He can be guided through the entire office workplace with the help of an application which sits on top of powered by the network. So I think, or for example, even the requirement of a hybrid workplace, which is the phase three, where a lot of people will now require to be operating from their homes or from their particular offices. And that is a reality. But all of this is now leading us to something called as ESP, where I believe that is one of the industry-leading cloud native AI-powered platform, which is giving a lot of insights into how the network is going to behave, how the network is responding, and how the network can be monetized for a customer environment. I will not go deep into Aruba ESP because I have a next speaker who will speak a lot of it. But one of the building blocks of that is the AI ops, which is the AI insights and the user insights. It also is talking about the unified infrastructure. We talk about Wi-Fi, switching, SD-WAN, the 5G, which is now coming, or the IoT frameworks, all unified in one infrastructure with a single pane of glass management console. And then we talk about zero trust security, which is again Aruba's patent dynamic segmentation, and it also gives you a lot of device insights. But Aruba ESP uses a lot of these attributes to be able to deliver a very, very predictable environment to our customers. My last slide, we believe there are 5 ways to get to where you are for any customer. You have to deploy a high performance network, securely connect to the cloud, secure users, devices, and things, scale operations and management, and innovate with apps and experiences. But all of this, I believe the second aspect of securing and securely connecting to the cloud is absolutely critical. You need to understand that device identity information is required to use that to control and optimize traffic destined for the internet or to cloud apps. A lot of customers are spending a lot of time in this. As I look at customer landscape, and I just came back from a customer meeting, and we were talking about this, and this is the next journey that people have to take, have to go through this 5 steps wherever they are in that journey. It is important that they scale their network, they scale their operations and management, and the network follows with them. And they need to understand the security is paramount, but important also is to get insights in the network so that the businesses can be better delivered. So with this, I just wanted to give you a glimpse. At Shro Systems, we do a lot of stuff, but network, I believe, is the next big thing where a lot of development innovation is going to happen. And you will find customers who develop and invest in their networks will find their businesses really respond well and grow well. So with that, I will hand over my baton to Mr. Manoj, who will be taking the next part of the presentation. Over to you. I'm so sorry.
Mahesh.
Mahesh. So sorry. Mahesh, I'm just stopping my presentation and you can go ahead. Thank you, Mahesh.
Well, you're doing that just network as a service. When you say network as a service, what it's again a pay-as-you-go model as well. How does it work?
It's a pay-as-you-go model. You're right, Sujit. For every single opportunity that we get, we are able to give a solution in pay-as-you-use, and you can divide that into per port basis. So, for example, you have a construct of a pricing based on ports or based on the number of network points that they have. But we are able to give them ability to scale up and scale down as well. But most importantly, give them an SLA, which means that the network is always our responsibility. See, in the past, we used to give them infrastructure and some services along with, but the ownership always used to lie with the customer. Now the ownership is ours. We're delivering the network, and the network is a responsibility. We're committing an SLA, and it's all as a service model. So they are paying us per month and breaking it down per port basis, for example, or per Wi-Fi access point or controller basis.
Okay. Mahesh, go on.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Anirudh. And thank you, Techies team, for giving us this opportunity to present our solutions to a larger audience. So the key discussion point of this session is Aruba Edge Services Platform. Anirudh briefly mentioned about ESP, right? So ESP, there is another full form. Most of you know it is extra sensory perception, right? So ideally, we call it in our colloquial terms a sixth sense. So that is the reason why maybe Aruba has chosen our future architecture as ESP, right? Primarily, what we are seeing is networking was very limited to the connectivity earlier, but then the network engineers or the people who manage the network really struggle when some issues happen. That has been the practice we have been seeing for quite a long time. So that is where Aruba wants to bring in some advancements in our technology, bring new innovations into this, and then give that additional benefits to our customers through our ESP platform. And this session, I will just quickly run through the 4 key steps to achieve the ESP benefits to any of our customers. So again, this is something Sujit briefed earlier. So I just want to start it how the landscape has changed, right? The current IT landscape. So you have got a large distributed network, or I would say distributed connectivity requirements today, right? Many of the earlier networks we were primarily designing for connectivity to the data center, right? Because data center used to be the key area where the data is generated and data is consumed. But now, because of this proliferation of devices, be it in our hands, the smart devices, or be it in IoT proliferation, or the devices which actually generate a lot of data onto the network, the devices get connected to the IT network, which has earlier not be the case. They were all separate networks. They are all being converged onto the IT network. They are all generating data at the edge, right? And again, in a newer scenario, we cannot take all this data to a central data center to process, right? That is where the edge itself has to process this data, and then they have to ensure that this data has been properly analyzed and consumed by the cloud or the data center resources, because you cannot have all the resources available in the edge. Edge needs to do some of the activities at the edge itself, but then many of the intelligence need to come from the data center or the cloud. So that is where the resources are available. That is where the models or the algorithms are available, which can be leveraged at the edge. So whichever customer who can leverage or harness this data, they can really get better business outcomes. That is what Aruba believes in. And what Aruba is trying to do is Aruba is trying to provide our solutions to better connect devices onto the edge, as well as take those edge devices onto the central cloud that we call as edge to cloud journey. So wherever the data is generated, we consume there and then also leverage or send the data to the central database. So that is where two areas, the intelligent edge and edge to cloud, and where we can start primarily, network is the platform for this, and we have to start with the network. How can we get into this? That is through Aruba's ESP platform, or Aruba Edge Services platform, right? Earlier, briefly, Anirudh talked about, so Edge Services platform has 4 components. So one of the components is unified infrastructure. So one of the things which Aruba has been doing is how can we unify all the different types of connectivity? Again, we cannot have silos of network, which has been in the past. We cannot have people managing the wired network separately, or wireless separately, or wide area network separately. Or then how can we leverage the benefits of the new 4G and 5G backbone networks? Or how can we ensure that IoT devices or the devices which are coming onto the network also get plugged in to the IT part of it? So all those are to be considered as a unified infrastructure. Again, this unified, whenever we talk about connectivity, we cannot just give the connectivity without any policies, right? Access policies or security policies are key for any organization. They have to give connectivity, but that connectivity has to be along with a compliant policies for that organization. It can be in different form factor. It can be using different solutions. But what Aruba provides is Aruba has some of the solutions available in this area, and then we also integrate with most of the ecosystem partners to give that unified policy-based infrastructure for the customer. Then the key part of ESP and key part of sixth sense, whatever we talk about, is how we can capture this data, how we can use this data which is generated at the edge and make use of that for different use cases. One of the use cases which Anirudh mentioned was on the COVID back to office. So COVID back to office or return to office, what we call it, return to office is when customers are looking for whether people are doing any social gathering, people are going primarily, if somebody is detected with COVID, are people going with them, or historically whether there was a gathering along with that person, so that these kind of contact tracing, which will help the customer to ensure that the pandemic is controlled within their organization. So some of these use cases, you can say it can be deployed independently. But what Aruba has done is Aruba already had these solutions for connectivity in place, which has IoT readiness and everything. So we were just leveraging that infrastructure. Whichever customer had gone with Aruba, we provided this contact tracing as an additional functionality to those customers. So this is, I'm just saying, one use case. Similarly, we can build a lot of use cases on top of the infrastructure which we are getting built. Secondly, these are all, you can see, these are all managed or monitored by our Aruba Central as a platform. So that is the core of this solution, where we do all the analytics. Primarily, whatever information we gather from the bottom 3 layers, we gather it, we do analytics on it, and when we get those, we can predict the behavior of the network maybe in the future. That is how we normally say it is the sixth sense, so that before even a user complains, before a device gets disconnected from the network, can the network engineer or can the IT team proactively go and fix it, so that it provides better user experience. And when you have better user experience, it is actually going to increase the productivity of that organization, and then accordingly it will also provide good customer experience for those for that organization's customers. So which are the 4 steps? First step is connect, like I mentioned, is unified connectivity. Then connectivity without protection is not something which anybody desires, so protection is also wrapped around it. Then whatever data we do a continuous 24/7 analysis, and then proactively act upon those data. So these are the 3 steps. But how can customers get into this Aruba Esp architecture? That is where we have added our 4th step into it, Accelerate, where we provide this entire concept as a service to the customer. So again, you can see here on top, this doesn't is not applicable only to one type of a customer, one type of a requirement. It can be applicable starting from your home user. One of the use cases was earlier discussed. It can be for your branch officers. It can be of your large head offices, campus networks. It can be for your data center, right? And also the applications which you host on SaaS or hosted on cloud, the public infrastructure. We can have this architecture deployed across different types of use cases. Then I will go slightly faster on each of those building blocks. When you say connect, so connect, there are multiple types of connectivity which we discussed. First is the connectivity which is wireless. So wireless in the sense, it is not just Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi, 2.45 gig, 6 gig, there are all standards where the smart devices or laptops or those devices get connected. But along with that, what Aruba has done is the access points, we call it as access point, is an IoT gateway. That means it not just give the normal Wi-Fi connectivity, it can also give you the IoT protocols connectivity, for example, Bluetooth connectivity or a Zigbee connectivity. Or if there are any proprietary, for example, if you talk about manufacturing, if you talk about factory floors, there are many IoT providers which are very specific to that particular factory environment. So they may not be using a standard protocol like Zigbee or Bluetooth. They may be using some proprietary solution to communicate between their IoT sensors and their gateways. So what Aruba access points can do is Aruba access point can take those proprietary sensors, proprietary gateways, and plug it onto our access point, so that even those proprietary IoT connectivity can be provided by a single unified wireless infrastructure. Then many customers are in a dilemma when they want to decide on a infrastructure purchase, whether they have to go with a cloud-based solution or they want to go with an on-premises based solution. Some of them have regulatory requirements to be on premises, but some has no regulatory requirements, but they still are confused whether they want to move. So what Aruba is providing is single architecture, so that whatever infrastructure components, be it switching or be it wireless, be it the SD-WAN or any infrastructure components which Aruba is providing, they can all be managed, operated as an on-prem or cloud. That unified infrastructure helps customers to make decisions faster. They can deploy the solution maybe initially as an on-prem, and as it progresses, as they feel that cloud can provide them some more advantages, they can migrate them to cloud. So that dilemma can be addressed by Aruba's single architecture for cloud and on-premises. Then same like our wireless infrastructure, what we have done, because many customers hear Aruba, they think primarily as a Wi-Fi company, because the Aruba as a company was initially launched all wireless related products. But with Aruba, HP's acquisition of Aruba, what we have done is we have actually come up with a lot new switching products or wired networking products. And the latest of that is AOS CX based platforms. Again, advantage here is it is a single platform, single operating system, starting from maybe an 8-port branch switch all the way up to a data center core or data center spine and leaf switches. So it's a single operating system all the way from a wiring closet to your data center. Again, a simplification there. And finally, all these, like we mentioned in the initial slide, edge to cloud journey. Edge to cloud is provided by primarily wide area network connectivity. The applications or the resources which needs to be accessed maybe in a public cloud, private cloud, or it can be as SaaS-based models. All this connectivity needs to be provided. That is where Aruba's SD-WAN and SD-branch. SD-branch is another key technology word which Aruba coined primarily to see for a large distributed campuses. Customer do not want to see it as a individual devices, wireless or wired or routing or wide area network or links. They want to see it as a single branch. So that is where Aruba coined this term called SD branch, a software defined branch. Any infrastructure component which goes into that branch can be managed, operated, analyzed. All those are done from a single pane of glass. All these are done through Aruba Central, a single pane of glass tool. Then security. So whatever we talked about on the connectivity, along with that, security happens, or security is key in that, especially when IoT proliferation happens. We really need to know visibility. We, as an IT person, they need to know what are the different types of devices which gets connected onto the network. Once they know it, they need to authenticate them, whether they are authenticated and authorized to connect. So that we call as a zero trust. We do not trust anything. We ensure that everything goes through an authentication process based on what role they are belonging to, what device it is, what role it has to play on the network. We give the right access control. Then it is not about giving once an access and leave it, but it is a continuous monitoring. Some of the monitoring tools are available with Aruba, and Aruba also integrates with security exchange program with all other key leading network security vendors, so that we ensure that conditional monitoring, 24/7 monitoring is done. And then based on all the inputs, we do the optimization, we do the enforcement again. So if somebody has logged in initially with all the compliance, but then they violated some compliance, then we go and disconnect them from the network. So it is connectivity, is not just giving connectivity once, it is like a continuous monitoring of the connectivity for security. Then comes the third pillar, which is primarily all the data, what we can do with it. So on the right side, you can see why I put this here is because AI, again, AI ML, if you go to any networking vendor, everybody will talk about AI ML. But why Aruba for AI ML or AI Insight is primarily the experience, the maturity which Aruba has, the kind of experience we have. This is also a slightly older data, but we have more than 65,000 customers across the globe, more than 1 million devices which are generating data. This data, the kind of AI ML algorithms or the models you can build, it's all depend on the data you get. The more data you have, the more better your AI analysis will be, more better will be your AI engine will be. That is what as a customer you need to understand. And based on that, Aruba has built our AI operations capabilities on Aruba Central. And this primarily what we do is we allow customers to get assistance from AI. It is not like replacing an engineer, but assisting and augmenting the network engineer's capability using AI. That is what we do with AI Assist. Then AI Insight. So many times the manual processes take a long time to identify what exactly is the issue is, even to see what the root cause was so that it can be prevented for future. That is where AI insights capabilities will help. And then finally, we can even, if a person is not familiar with Aruba, they can come and search using normal English, normal language. It can search and then find out solutions on our platform. So all these are capabilities within our solution. Again, this is the key to provide that sixth sense for your network. Finally, the accelerate piece of it. So how can a customer consume ESP? They can go with a SaaS model, like it's a cloud-based model. So they can buy just licensing from Aruba and they can get into the SaaS model. Or they can go with one of our partners like Shro Systems. They can do managed services for you. They will do all the services for you, and they provide that, like earlier we mentioned, network as a service component. Or if customers are only looking for a financial, that is something which HPE provides. But there is no technology. It is more about financial services. But if you are looking for a full technology management and OpEx model for that, then you can leverage managed services or network as a service. So some use cases very quickly. So this is a wireless use case. So what actually happens is, you assume that this is a workplace where it is in a building where many people are walking around outside the building. So typically what happens, people are having some wireless issues, but they were not able to identify. That is where AI ops came into action. And what was the real issue there was, these people we use as passerbys. They have their mobile phones, their smart devices where Wi-Fi is turned on, but they are not associating with any wireless access point. But their Wi-Fi is turned on. So what happens when a Wi-Fi is turned on? It keeps beaconing, keeps searching for a signal. So because of so many people were walking around and sending this beacon, anyway, AP has to respond. AP has to listen to that. So APs were not getting that optimal performance because of this. So this, normally if a manual person wants to find it out, they would not have found it out anyway, because they cannot get into this kind of deeper wireless statistics. That is where AI came into picture, and AI really identified that this is because of this passerby traffic which is being attended by the access point. So they removed that. They reconfigure that. Also the recommendations is given by AI so that they can do what is required for the network. Once they did it, they could see a 25% wireless capacity increase, and customers were benefited with that. This is one use case which I want to say. This is one customer. Again, it is a manufacturing customer where Industry 4.0 and all the IoT integrations happened. So what were our solutions there? Primarily, we were having our power over Ethernet switches for all the connectivity, for all the machinery, all the devices which needs to be powered. Then access points, like I mentioned earlier, they're all IoT ready. So whatever technology the IoT devices are using in that manufacturing facility can be plugged onto our access points, and then everything managed using Aruba Central with AIOps capability. And security provided by our Aruba ClearPass policy manager solution, and integration with all their existing security ecosystem like firewall or IPS or their intrusion prevention or their SIEM kind of solutions. And this is one example I just took from India. So the other one was not in India. So this is a large car manufacturer in India. Some of the use cases, again, some of the many of the manufacturing plants will face this. Lot of material transactions happen at the gate. So they very reliable Wi-Fi is required, and also tracking of the assets when they move inside. So that is a solution which Aruba can provide using Bluetooth technology on top of our wireless. Then many people, because of pandemic, they couldn't travel. The experts were not available. Then they were taking their tablets and going their machinery, and then doing video calls and voice calls from the shop floor. So what Aruba could provide was a reliable connectivity, and also we have a very high solutioning around SLA based solutioning around unified communications. So we could do that. We could prioritize these the traffic, video traffic which came from the shop floors, and ensure that these remote experts could remotely connect and recognize and diagnose the problems. Then finally, IoT, as I mentioned, a lot of IoT sensors also plug onto the AP. And now customers need to only manage the access point, not anymore other IoT devices. So this is, I believe I have taken little more time, but the summary is Aruba is rightly positioned to provide you the intelligent edge connectivity, taking you that journey from edge to cloud. And the architecture which you can adopt is Aruba Edge Services Platform Architecture, a cloud native AI powered platform. And then how can you go there in those 4 simple steps? Again, we are not pushing anybody to take everything at a time, but they can go in steps to achieve this. Finally, what we want from our customers is, this is a screenshot I took from our own user experience inside a product, where we show the smiley symbol when everything is working fine. So what Aruba wants is the user experience always should be with this smiley, green smiley always. Thank you.
Okay, can you stop the presentation, Mahesh?
Sure.
Yeah. So thanks. So Anirudh, tell us, I mean, how do you help a customer build a robust network like this, one which has a sixth sense? Anirudh, you're muted, huh?
Thanks. Getting back to, again, getting used to unmute and mute. But yeah, so see, Sujit, according to IDC, and you take data across, there are going to be billions of devices that will be connected within the next 2 years. And they're expected to generate zillion beta of data. Almost unimaginable amount of data will be created by these devices which are connected. Combine that with the shifts to work from home and distributed workforces, the hybrid workplaces and reimagined workplaces. There is a definite need for the right tools to keep pace, right? With this large amount of data at the edge that is being created, today's networks and the teams that manage them are struggling to keep up. So you need a very comprehensive solutions. An organization needs to ensure that they have the right network foundation. And that's what we have been saying across in the presentation as well, that they need to be ready for the next big technology shift that is happening. Also be able to manage what is happening in their networks or in their organizations now. So that this is where I think the sixth sense comes in. You need to be aware of what is happening next, what threat is looming around the corner, what is the business continuity plan today, and what are we doing to mitigate all the risks that are there. I mean, you look at ransomware attacks, you look at all the security threats. We are living in a digital environment which is threatened every single day, and the networks are attacked almost on popular companies and big companies are attacked almost regularly. So we need a solution, and that's where I think Shro Systems and we are with Aruba, we are combining that conversation and narrative across to customers that you need to build a robust network. Invest in your network today, and the network requires. I mean, wherever your state of the network is, there is a good possibility that we go into a customer environment, the networks are outdated, we do an assessment, we will give them a roadmap, and not that you have to transform everything. You can go by building blocks. But the Aruba ESP, as we talked, the sixth sense in the network, it combines the AI operations that, as we talked about, it combines zero trust security. A lot of customers are on that path, but also goes towards a unified infrastructure. And I think those are the fundamental changes and implementations you need to do in a network, make it so robust that today your businesses will not crumble. Today, your digital businesses, as we call it, the scaling, you're looking at unicorns, you're looking at people expanding into different verticals and geographies. Their businesses are really going to grow the next 3-4 years, 5 years, and our Prime Minister's vision. And look at what India is going to achieve. We are going to be on a very, very high trajectory of growth. All organizations need to be prepared. We need to build a robust network. At Shro Systems and Aruba, we are making that conversation today. We believe that the edge network, everything, the action is going to happen at the edge, but it's important to have the right tools, the right infrastructure, and the right network constitution or a configuration to be able to achieve that goal. For example, I'll give you, there are thousands, if you look at the organization, Sujit, there are so many thousands of wired and wireless and WAN devices, right? Across campuses, across branches. Some are in data centers, some are in remote worker locations. It's so distributed. How do you manage that? How do you quickly deploy network services at scale and to support that changing business need? Or how do you identify and resolve issues quickly? preempting the problems. I mean, you almost have to be like probably Iron Man, or you have to be one of the Marvel Avengers to be able to predict what is going to happen next. How are they going to impact a business? And you need to be a superhero. I mean, that network engineer or that IT team has now become a superhero of sorts, and they have to have magical powers to be able to achieve dramatic things. It's not easy, but I think we are achieving that through some amount of technology innovations and the right implementation. I believe the sixth sense. This is absolutely so important. At Shro Systems, we're building that narrative very, very clearly, and I see a lot of customers investing time now to be able to understand them. Before the pandemic, I think network was an important discussion, but not as important as it is now.
Yeah. Okay. And which option are they preferring? Are they preferring the SaaS option, managed services, or what is the preferred option?
I think we are moving slowly, Sujit, towards the as a service and SaaS models, because a lot of customers realize that in this kind of models, there's a lot of skin in the game of everybody involved, right? I mean, as a provider, as Shro Systems, as Aruba, as a OEM vendor, and as a customer, we all three are on the same driver's seat in the car. As we go along, I think we are our eyes on their business. We are investing our time to say the network is rightly configured, it is rightly scaled, it is free of problems. We are also employing the right tools so that the customer's business stays on course. We are not in that phase right now where we say, hey, here's the technology, you buy it, and we'll give you some services, but rest you manage. I think the conversation is more now we're saying, hey, you worry about your business. If you are a clothes manufacturer, manufacture clothes. If you're a car manufacturer, manufacture cars. Leave that IT, leave that network to us. And that's the success of as a service and SaaS. I think that's the evolution of conversation that we need to have, and customers need to trust. And I'm sure they're trusting, but they need to trust the IT back on us. Similar to a bank locker, right? I mean, you don't generally store jewelry in your cupboard. You're putting the jewelry in a bank locker because you trust the bank that he's going to secure your jewelry as effectively, and you pay a small charge for the locker. You're doing the same thing right now, just giving us a small charge per month. We're breaking it down. We're making very cash positive. We are almost showing 17-18% return on investment if you just pay as you go versus you buy the network. You spend say 2 crores buying the network infrastructure, but versus you pay us 5,000 rupees a month or 8,000, whatever that charge is. But you're achieving two things. You're being cash smart. You're also putting services first conversation, and you're aligning the business to the need of the network.
Okay.
Mahesh, is Aruba Esp available only as a cloud option or other offerings as well?
Yeah, so during the presentation, I quickly touched upon it, right? So if you had seen the architecture, so the architecture has multiple components. So one of the key components is Aruba Central. So the AI insights or the sixth sense, whatever we talk about using Aruba Esp, that is actually provided by Aruba Central. So Aruba Central, as an initial solution, we used to have only on cloud. But recently, what we have done is we have brought that Aruba Central capability onto on-premises as well. So if a customer, due to their regulatory, whatever compliance reasons, they cannot go on that and connect their network components onto a cloud, Aruba Central can be provided as a fully on-premises solution, so that they can do the whatever, or they can get the benefits whatever we talked about on the AI insights on premises as well. Just want to add here, Aruba Central, even if it's in cloud, when we talk in India, Aruba has a local instance in India based in Mumbai. So the data which actually, if there is any data or metadata which we gather from the infrastructure components of customers, they are actually residing within the Indian geography. So that is, so there's some customers want that also to be important even when they are adopting cloud. So in both cases, we have that regulatory compliance.
Okay. Any study that has been done on the economic benefits of Aruba Esp?
Yeah, so as Aruba, we can talk a lot about ESP benefits. But what we have done is we have, or we got a study done by an external agency, which is Enterprise Strategy Group, ESG Group. Then ESG Group has done a primarily what customers are keen about is what is the return on investment when they do a migration like this. So what exactly this ESG group has done in the study is they have taken a 3-year period and really put financial or commercial values onto these benefits which ESP provides. It can be the reduction in the manpower, it can be the time saved for troubleshooting, the you can say the uptime which has been maintained across the board, the customer satisfaction itself, all those have been put into a commercial value. And then what they could find is for a 3-year period, Aruba ESP can give around 56% of lower operational cost.
Yeah.
So there is a detailed study. Again, if somebody wants to find it, they can easily find it. Aruba ESP ESG report on Google. Even we can share the link for them to study that.
Okay. Shilpa? Shilpa, you're muted, huh?
Oh, sorry. Also, coming to you, Anirudh, can you give us an example on how customers, especially in manufacturing, can achieve that visibility, what is on the network, and also enable an IoT network seamlessly?
Yeah, thanks for the question, Shilpa. So I think when you look at, and it's one of our customers is a large auto manufacturer, and one of the requirements, and it's a global company as well, but they have multiple sales offices, multiple warehouses, multiple factories, and they have a great criticality in their businesses. The requirement was to have an adequate wireless coverage in all their setups across the campus, but most importantly in their warehouse, because that's where, if you look at the manufacturing setup, and the warehouse becomes the critical part, because that's where the entire commerce is, right? I mean, that's where the revenue is. A single downtime, a single minute downtime in a warehouse could affect their billing, could affect their dispatches, and it could affect their entire revenue and go haywire. So they required a very strong, robust network. But most importantly, I think the challenges that they were facing is the warehouse was, again, with iron structure. They wanted coverage in every single nook and corner of the warehouse. They wanted visibility as what is happening in the network. They didn't want to be in a situation where they're guessing where the problem is. So they wanted absolute agility and awareness of their network. They wanted a unified network management, and they wanted it to be IoT ready, considering Industry 4.0 and everything happening at the edge. So when you look at the requirements and challenges, I think one of the conversation we had with the customer is that we need to deploy, and I think Mahesh touched upon this, that a seamless wireless connectivity we wanted to give them the benefits of with the Zigbee support, right? Zigbee support will help them with the IoT platform capabilities. So it should have the Zigbee support. It should have a built-in technology that resolves the client issues. It should have a preempting, technology which will help give the network awareness of what is happening on the network. So they required a lot of tools. They required an integrated platform, a single pane of glass management console, and a centralized management for similar security policies, and which is on the wired as well as wireless. Because in a manufacturing setup, you do have wired requirements, because there are a lot of machines and a lot of requirements where wired networks are still present. So you need to have an environment where both wired and wireless are coexisting. One of the things that in Aruba, we have the Aruba Mobility Master and the wireless controller, along with their wireless access points, is the ClearPass NAC solution. That also enables a lot of management capabilities, a lot of managing wired and wireless environments, but most importantly, gives you what's on their network. And it's super important. That's another sixth sense, but it's so important that every customer has that. I'll just kind of go also into what Aruba ESP does, right? Aruba ESP is driving hyper awareness. When you look at, you can talk about hyper aware industrial facilities, and as you look at 5G, for example, coming into it, and 5G is coming, in the future to us. How can mobile operators extend 5G footprint into the building, into the factories, into warehouses? And with ESP and with the Aruba network, it seamlessly powers the Wi-Fi calling. We have a technology called Aruba Air Slice technology, and this is able to drive a lot of that conversation around Wi-Fi calling and enable the 5G into the industrial units. looking at monitoring personal safety and asset safety, for example. It can deliver the hyper-aware industrial facilities can deliver real-time 3D situational awareness, 3D awareness by tracking location of people and assets by locating them in a cluster. It can integrate with automated ventilation, for example, with geofencing and vehicular navigation systems. So all of that can be integrated. It can give you a lot of hyper-awareness. And that is a buzzword today because you, as businesses, you need to be hyper aware. As employees, you need to be hyper aware. As people, we need to be hyper aware, and that is a sense of awareness. And we read a lot about technology innovation, but all innovation here that at Aruba is going is to make businesses more aware what is happening, so that they can take the right decision. I probably can give you one more examples about, for example, real-time emergency response in hospitals. It actively, a network solution can actively communicate with the visitors, staff, tenants, guiding them to the next action that they need to do with the use of 4D graphics for first responders, for example. It enables them to quickly see where people are within the buildings, reach the people where they are, right? Because it can be powered by a location-based services. So you can do wonders. You can, as you think about the use cases, as you think about what you can do, the case studies are numerous, right? But I'm just stay with me on this word that hyper-aware smart buildings for enterprises, for education, for healthcare, for hospitality, for retail, for government, for industries everywhere. Everybody needs a hyper-aware. Take schools, for example. Again, use case, right? I mean, when you look at students returning back to their classrooms, how can you segregate them? What student types are there? How can they be communicated to? What, and if smartphones are allowed, how can smartphones based on 5G and the Wi-Fi network enable a lot of experiences for students and teachers? So I think there are a lot of use cases, very exciting as you keep looking at these situations.
Okay. A lot of companies have their own proprietary wireless protocols and all that, is it? What Mahesh was talking about, I mean, that your system can read other kinds of protocols, not just ZigBee and Wi-Fi and all that. But I mean, yeah, I didn't know this. Many companies have their own protocols.
So when you talk about Wi-Fi, Wi-Fi is predominantly based on industry standard, right? There is Wi-Fi Alliance, which provides interoperability. They do Wi-Fi Alliance certifications for devices, the chipset which goes into the smart devices, or those are all industry standard. But what I was specifically mentioning was on the IoT side. So specifically in manufacturing, you have a lot of IoT sensors, and there are companies who provide a solution for a specific need. That company's core USP would be that. So so what they do, for example, if I take just checking the water level in a pump, for example, that pump manufacturer will be having a sensor on that pump itself, right, which will be checking the water level there. But then that how the sensor will talk to a system behind, maybe a server. This data has to go to, maybe there will be thousands of pumps across the plant, and this data has to go to the central server maybe every 10 minutes, right? That data, when it is the sensor, when it sends, it may not be sending on Wi-Fi. It will be very small device. So they may not be using a Wi-Fi, or they may not be using a technology like Bluetooth. They may be using some way to communicate with their nearest gateway. We call it an IoT gateway. So that IoT gateway talking to the sensor may be based on that particular vendor's some proprietary technology. But this IoT gateway, what we are doing on our Aruba access points are that this IoT gateway can be connected on to our access point. So for the customer, he just need to manage Aruba access points. They do not need to go and manage lot of gateways across their plant. So that last mile connectivity can be proprietary. It can also be, like earlier we mentioned, standards like Bluetooth or ZigBee, 802.15.4. There are several standards in this IoT area which has come up. Along with that, there are vendor specific ways also to communicate with their devices.
Okay. So if a customer wants to start with Aruba ESP, what is the first steps?
Yeah, Aruba ESP, like I mentioned, there are several steps, but again, we are not saying that this is like a fit all, one size fitting all kind of a strategy, right? We need to really understand the customer network, and what we call it as ESP my way. That is the way we call it. So that ESP my way for that end customer. So then the customer, maybe we would like to engage with that customer through our partners like Shro. We would like to see what exactly are they in this journey, right? Whether they have invested in some solutions already, or whether they are starting off initially, and that from there we can then say what all components may need to be taken from our ESP architecture, so that this entire concept can be built for that customer. So it is, again, like I mentioned, it is customer specific.
Okay.
But again, we do that workshops with the customer to ensure that they can be taken to this journey, or we can go together in this journey.
Okay. Shilpa, I think we are at 7 o'clock. Any questions, Shilpa?
No questions yet.
Okay. Any final words, Anirudh, Mahesh? Do you want to communicate to your potential customers or employees?
I would say just look at your network. Just look at how you would like to enhance your business. If you are a customer, how you want to enhance your businesses, look at your network first. Start there. Does your network have a sixth sense? Remember, it can now. Talk to us. If you are a student, start honing your skills on networking. There's a lot of career growth opportunities in network. Invest in certifications. Get your certifications right. It's a great career to have. If you are working in the industry already, make the shifts around your skill sets, improve your skill sets around managing networks with the latest technology, move towards a software-defined network, get skills around that. It's an open, remember, it's an open standards network world, and there are a lot of coding possibilities to create your own IPs around it. So if you are an entrepreneur, if you are somebody who's got a zeal for innovation, this is an open network, open standard network. You can build up your own APIs and start developing things that can power the network. The possibilities are infinite and vast. And what's exciting, Sujit and Shilpa, is that the technology innovation is driving outcomes, and you can see those outcomes. It's not like it's something that we're talking in the distant future. Everything that we are talking today is implemented, is actually people are using. For example, I'm just seeing a small example. An employee walks in, a new employee walks in into a new office, and he doesn't know where to go. But on his mobile phone, he's getting messages and guiding him where to go. Or he goes past the canteen, and the message comes in, hey, garam samosa in the canteen, please come and have it. Or he goes past the CEO's cabin, and the CEO says, hey, welcome, Sandeep, to the office. And these are all getting powered through a network. Imagine the experiences you can drive, and the possibilities are infinite. It's just that you want to implement it. The solution is there. You need to talk and engage.
And you said as a service in networks emerged later than other areas, is it?
Yes, in that sense, the device as a service or data center as a service offerings came in earlier. The network as a service was always there, but it's now getting more mainstream.
Yeah. Okay. Mahesh, final words.
Yeah, just want to say, so we are part of Hewlett Packard Enterprise, but we call ourselves as the big small company within Hewlett Packard Enterprise, right? And we have a motto, or the tagline we normally say is customer first, customer last. So within Aruba, right? So our entire goal is to satisfy customer, like Anirudh mentioned. It's all about the user experience, right? That is where we are aiming our technologies to. We are bringing innovations in that direction. When we talk about users, there are two types of users. We say one is the actual end user, one is the actual IT support or the IT user. So we ensure that the end user is satisfied based on the connectivity and the experience they get there, and we make the tools which can satisfy the IT part of it. That is what the goal of Aruba, and we are innovating. And again, one more point which Anirudh mentioned is open standards, right? Whoever is watching this, you can very well. So Aruba or HPE as such, we are always a company who promotes open standards and interoperability in networking. And then nowadays, with a lot of programmability built onto our platforms, which can all be leveraged by the customers to harness the benefits of our entire solution.
In fact, Sujit, Aruba, I mean, in the lighter side, Aruba Islands, as we know, and the group of islands. So we believe that a customer should be looking at going to the Aruba Islands and enjoying or leave the worries of the network to us. So think of it as being on a nice beach, a nice island, enjoy those times while we manage a network and we will take that seriously. Anyway, that's on a lighter note.
Wonderful. So yeah, larger message. Yeah, networks are spreading. I mean, as edge. Now of course, edge devices literally everywhere. So networks are also following those and literally everywhere. It's making it very complex, but there are solutions available to make this complexity a lot more manageable. And there are as a service offerings where you can leave that complexity and all of that to people who are real experts at it. So thanks a lot, Anirudh, Mahesh. Great having you on this platform. Great talking to you. So
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.